There was a man named Dave. Dave was a nice man. He lived in a small rural town with his two children and lovely wife. For work, he was an accountant. His life was pretty standard. But what happened is, with all the lovely meals that his wife made him, Dave started to gain a lot of weight. And he got fatter and fatter. One day he decided that he could no longer take it. So he went to the local gym and spoke to the one personal trainer they had named Tom. He explained the issues he had, and Tom said to him, "Don't you worry, my friend, I have the solution for you." And he broke down to him how all he needed to do was count his calories and that he would be in ridiculous shape in no time. But then Dave noticed something interesting. Tom himself wasn't even in shape. He thought to himself, if what Tom is saying is really true, why doesn't it work on himself? After realizing the absurdity of the situation, Dave came home and turned on YouTube. Maybe I'll just start eating more vegetables, he thought to himself. But then he stumbled across a video called 31 Reasons Why Humans Are Designed to Only Eat Meat. At first, he couldn't believe it, but everything he was hearing made perfect sense to him. So he decided to give this crazy all-meat diet a chance. Within his first week, he lost 5 pounds. Within his first month, he lost 15 pounds. Within 3 months, he'd lost 35 pounds. Dave had gone from being 250 pounds to 215 pounds. And he was the talk of the town. No one could believe what they were seeing. But then suddenly, the weight loss stopped. You see, Dave had made some crucial mistakes, which meant his eating program was no longer congruent with losing weight. Now, this right here happens to many people on the carnivore diet, but luckily for you, by the end of today's video, you're going to know exactly how to design an eating program so that you achieve all of your weight loss goals. And if you stick around to the end, I'll even give you a free example program. So, which meats should be included on this eating program? Well, at the start, you want to include a variety of meats. A regular meal for most people contains a variety of different foods on the plate. So when you switch to this all-meat diet and you only eat one type of meat per meal, it can be almost jarring. It just feels a bit weird eating only one thing. So what's a great idea at the start is to mix it up a bit. Maybe have a little bit of salmon, a little bit of steak, maybe a little bit of chicken, which will then satisfy your desire to have this variety. Now, what I personally noticed is that over time, I started craving ruminant meat more and more. And every time I got hungry, the only type of meat I wanted was ruminant meat. Now, for those who are unaware, ruminant meat comes from animals such as cows or sheep. And it gets its name because, well, they're ruminant animals, meaning they have complex, multi-chambered stomachs, which are much better at breaking down the toxins in the plants that they eat than monogastric animals like pigs or chickens, who have a much simpler digestive system and can't break these things down as effectively. Now, because ruminant animals also have more nutrients in them, your body recognizes this type of meat has more good stuff and less bad stuff, so it naturally gravitates to it. You can talk to any person who's done the carnivore diet for a prolonged period of time, and they will tell you the only thing that they want to eat is fatty ruminant meat, usually in the form of a nice ribeye steak or something along the lines of that. Now, in an ideal world, I know it's not possible for everyone, but ideally, you would like to consume ruminant meat at least once per day, ideally as much as you can though. Now, we all remember Dave from the start of the video, but what was the fatal mistake that Dave was making? Well, you see, Dave was drinking a lot of milk. Now, on carnivore, you can have dairy. It is an animal product. But the issue we find with dairy is that it stalls weight loss. You see, dairy is quite literally designed by a species for that species to grow. Every single species, the only time that they consume dairy is when they're trying to grow. And if we've stopped growing up, it means that we can only grow wide. I recorded that entire video, but it came out blurry, which is rather frustrating. However, it means I get to re-record it, and I'm going to do it better. So if you're wondering why the changing camera angles, that's why. How many meals per day should you be having? Well, the answer is that it depends person to person. But because nobody likes vague answers, let's break this down. At the start, I do think it's best that you're eating 3 to 4 meals per day. And the reason is, well, you want to be so full that you're not thinking about the other garbage. You're not thinking about the chocolate chip ice cream. You're not thinking about the cupcakes. When you eat to the point where you're so full you don't even want to think about food, there's a lot less chance that you're going to slip off it. There seems to be this natural progression amongst many people in the carnivore community where they'll start having 3, 4 meals per day. But over time they have less and less, going down to 2, and some people even go down to 1 meal per day. But how many meals per day is optimal? Well, the answer to this question is actually incredibly complex, and to tell you the truth, nobody actually knows the answer. You see, when you eat less meals per day, you're in a fasted state for a longer time. And depending on who you talk to, this may or may not be a good thing. When you fast, something known as autophagy increases. Now this is great because what autophagy is is your body clearing out all the bad cells. However, the people on the other side of this argument will say, wow, when you're fasting, all your stress hormones also elevate. And if you're eating the proper human diet where you're getting no toxins in your diet, what bad stuff do you need to clear out? So in my opinion, I think it's just best to listen to your body. When you're feeding your body the right things, it's incredibly intelligent. If you're hungry, give it some fatty red meat. And if you're not hungry, don't eat. When you listen to your intuition and you do as nature desires, pretty good things tend to happen. Now, our mate Dave from the start was also doing something regarding the number of meals he was having, which resulted in his weight loss plateauing. And that was that Dave was eating any time he got bored. Dave, being an accountant, every now and then he'd get a set of books that he really didn't like. When he found some clever loophole and suggested tax fraud to them, they weren't interested. There would be some of those clients which would result in him just not enjoying his work. And so what would happen is that Dave would get incredibly bored and his brain would crave some dopamine, which is a pleasure hormone. And because eating gives us a lot of dopamine, Dave would eat a meal. Now, he wasn't hungry, he was just bored, and he would repeatedly do this. And because he was just eating such a large quantity of food, it was another reason why the weight loss stalled. Now, the carnivore diet is quite possibly the only diet in the world where you can have the body of your dreams without being hungry even once. However, if you're just stuffing your face all day because you're bored, it will result in your weight loss plateauing. Now, I'm going to give you an example program. But before I give it to you, please keep something in mind. This is an example program. If you're someone who hates cooking and all you want to do is have the simplest thing, just cook up a steak, couple minutes each side, and you're sorted. But maybe you're someone who absolutely loves cooking. Then build your program around that. You can find so many recipes online of these complex meat lovers pizza recipes, steak and butter gal, she has many of those. So if you're one of those people, have those complex recipes that you enjoy making. Now, this is for males and females. And in your first meal, you want to have 5 eggs with your favorite choice of meat. And then for meals 2 and 3, you want to have 2 to 3 of your favorite meats, basically a third each on the plate. Now, I don't want to give specific quantities because it just depends so much person to person. If you're a big, large 6'4" tradie who's out on the tools all day, you're going to need to eat a lot more than, say, Jill, the 5'8" granny who barely moves. But because, like I said, no one likes someone who gives vague answers, I'll give you a general recommendation. If you're a man, I think between 2 and 4 pounds of meat per day is probably the range you want to be in. And if you're a woman, I think a range between 1.5 and 2.5 pounds per day is probably a good range. But like I said, that right there is a very general estimate. There will be outliers who need way more than that. There will be outliers who might need a bit less than that. One caveat I will put in there though is you want to have your weight in pounds in grams of protein per day. So if you weigh 180 pounds, you want 180 grams of protein per day. Now you need to remember that your body over time will naturally regulate how much it eats. At the start, most people, they've come from all these diets that are just so nutritionally void that all their nutrient levels are just way below where they need to be. So their body gets a taste of this delicious meat and it upregulates your appetite so you get more of these nutrients. However, over time, as your nutrient levels regulate themselves, your body no longer needs such an amount, so your appetite will slowly decrease. And in case you're curious what I eat in a day when I'm on a maintenance phase, obviously if I'm trying to bulk up and gain some muscle, I'll eat more than this, or if I'm trying to lean out, I'll eat a bit less than this. But on a regular maintenance day, for breakfast I'll have 1.2 pounds of some sort of steak and 5 eggs. For lunch I'll have the same, and then for dinner I'll have that amount of meat, but just without any eggs. And if you're wondering why it's such an oddly specific amount, it's because I'm from New Zealand, everything's in grams. I usually have about half a kilo of steak, but because the majority of my audience is from the United States, I do things in pounds. Also, if you need help building your program, I do run a 30-day challenge in which we'll do weekly calls and come up with a personal program for you together. And after those 30 days, I guarantee you achieve your goals or you get your money back. It's quite literally a win-win. You either achieve your goals or get a month's free consultation with me. So if that interests you, click the top link in the description. Let's summarize. Eat when you are hungry till you're full. Don't boredom eat. Eat whatever meats you want to eat. And remember, dairy may hold you back. And then finally, ideally, we want ruminant meat at least once per day. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like this video. See you next time.